Hi everyone, it's Joey Remenyi here from seekingbalance.com.au. So I've had a question about how do I cope with stress and how do I get out of fight, flight, freeze, fawn mode to be able to notice feelings and build new habits and build new neural pathways. I notice myself getting stuck in the fight, flight mode, fleeing into my to-do list as a control behavior and trying to relieve stress. So first of all, it's a really good question. And also it's quite insightful that you're already noticing when you're in fight, flight, freeze mode. So that's something to sort of pause and celebrate. Having that awareness of understanding what does fight, flight, freeze or fawn feel for me, to understand your own internal experience and your own physiology or your own markers of how does this feel for me? Because we're all different. Humans are so incredibly, beautifully different. Having that awareness for yourself of which mode am I in right now? And that's what we discuss in detail in Module 4 of the Rocksteady program. However, the entire program is really centered on this discovery within oneself. And that's why body scanning is such a useful skill, and boosting our proprioceptive awareness is such a useful resource that we have within our body. So understanding fight, flight, freeze, and fawn could be just understanding the sensations that move for you. Maybe your thoughts get faster, maybe your breath changes, shorter, sharper, more rugged. Maybe you get dry lips and throat. Maybe your chest closes over. Maybe your hands start to fidget a lot. Maybe you get sweaty and clammy. Maybe you get nauseous, tight stomach. And, maybe there's a layer of this all the time, that there is just this underlying fight flight going on within your symptomatology. And so understanding how to explore its cousin, its brother and sister of the parasympathetic rest and digest response, maybe that's something for you to very much deeply explore. And how you activate your parasympathetic rest and digest will be something for you to explore and understand for yourself. In other words, another person can't go in and give you an image of a waterfall and tell you to breathe to the count of 4 and expect it to magically happen. We all have different nuances. We all have different traumas, different memories, different ways of being in the world and being in our body, that it really is a self-study journey to understand the parasympathetic nervous system and how your body engages with it, how you can invoke the parasympathetic response more often in daily life. So in my Rocksteady program, I have very, very gentle invitations for you to observe your breath and body scan in many different ways. But also, I think just understanding your body and what you're experiencing can help release a lot of the fear. Because if you are experiencing chronic tinnitus, dizziness, vertigo, or other inner sensory difficulties or distortions, visual, snow, anxiety, all of it, those internal body sensations can in fact trigger the next fight, flight, freeze, fawn response. So we're sort of in this dance of constantly bouncing around stress markers and stress signals and protect and defense, fight, flight, freeze responses. So the more we understand our body, and that's why recently I've been talking so much about neurodivergence and neurodiversity, because for someone to not understand their brain, their neurotype, they could potentially be living as an autistic person and have no understanding of that. So possibly they're feeling a lot of mental rigidity. They're needing a lot of certainty and answers. They're searching all the time for resolution and clarity. And they're wondering, why is nobody else caring about this? Why am I the odd one out here? Why am I so needing things to be a certain way? And we have all of these internal strategies that we develop if we're living in a body that is constantly in that friction of the person, environment, pressure cooker, and we're constantly feeling perhaps pushed, rushed, fatigued, exhausted, faking it, pretending, pushing through, and actually our brain and body are just really seeking some relief and comfort. And for many autistic people, as an example, having a sense of predictability and certainty is very reassuring and comforting. So the body is creating all this rigidity to try and rest in the comfort of predictability and certainty, because that's partially accessing the parasympathetic mode. So once we understand these things about ourselves, we can bring in loving rituals and self-compassion, we can pull back from the pressure cooker of life, and we can actually live a daily life that is authentic to all of the predictability and certainty comforts that we really thrive within. So instead of living with full-on anxiety and disorganized, fast, rapid thoughts, we can drop back into a creative zone, be relaxed, rest and digest, regain our natural digestive system, and be more in that innovative, dreamlike imagination space, which is where we go when we're not so stressed. So that's part of just healthy mental living. So the way you go about this is really, first and foremost, understanding yourself through lots and lots of body scans. And this happens over a period of time. You're not going to do body scans every day for a week and suddenly know exactly how your brain and body interpret inputs. This is really a lifelong journey of saying, okay, I think this thing over here is really confusing me. I think that system and community over there is really draining me. I think this relationship is incredibly nourishing. I think this kind of foods and this pace of life is really working for me. And I think these things are not, they're super unhelpful and aggravating me. You need to learn about your sensory loading in terms of how much input does your brain thrive with? How much sensory input do you need to help you organize your inner world and create those desired neural maps? If you're not getting enough sensory input, you get sensory deprivation, which can feel very heavy and dizzying and disconnected and disoriented. If you're getting too much sensory input, you can get sensory overload, overwhelm, executive load, function issues, and in the long term, burnout. So we're all looking for that sweet spot of how do I live in my body beautifully with vitality, vibrancy, clarity, love, compassion, kindness, and then how do I live and relate to the outer world where I can function at my best without feeling rushed, pushed, forced, exhausted, and constantly trying to keep up with other people's pace. So it's not all just about stress. It's actually really looking back at that bigger whole person picture. And I say it in almost every video these days, but I'll say it again. It's not just about understanding stress. It's also about understanding our special interests, our enjoyment, our pleasure, and things that we effortlessly can focus on, be all consumed with in a really optimal firing way, because that's going to bring us into that parasympathetic nervous system too, and help us move out of the fight, flight, freeze, fawn loop cycles, the persistent symptom and stress cycles. So once we understand ourselves and our desire and our pleasure and our special interests, things can really start to move in a direction that feel nourishing and feel satisfying, gratifying, rewarding. When we're working with our special interests and focusing and putting time into that every day, which is something we are guided and encouraged to do in the Rocksteady program, using our desired sensations as a guide. As you're biologically, physiologically resting in your desired sensations and giving yourself access to your special interests, you're getting that beautiful neurochemical cocktail, that flush of feel-good neurotransmitters and hormones. So it really is a win-win situation. So I guess part of what I'm saying is to move away from focusing on stress, to definitely understand your fight, flight, freeze cycles. And again, there's all of that support and education for you in the Rocksteady program, but to also balance out your research, education, and self-study with all of the desired sensations, enjoyment, joy, pleasure, and desire. So looking at your values, your ideal self, and learning how to pace yourself to be the better version of you. So I hope that's useful. These are all great conversations. Keep the questions coming. You can learn more about me at seekingbalance.com.au. And if you join the full Rocksteady program, we have live monthly calls where peer members from all over the world are talking about how they're using neuroplasticity, how they're rebuilding their inner world and organizing themselves, and how they're troubleshooting the fight, flight, freeze, fawn cycles, which we're all faced with daily, realistically. So it's a really wonderful, practical, and supportive community. So thanks again, and a bye for now.